evil old house, the kind some people call haunted.
Hi, my name is Christian Devine and welcome to Retro Review. And since this is my favorite time of the year, fall, autumn, shocktober, I thought I would try to get in as many films to recommend and retro review as possible. And so one of the films that I love to kick off the season with is what I consider to be the best haunted house film, and that would be
God, it knows I'm here.
The Haunting from 1963, directed by Robert Wise and based on the classic novel The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, adapted for the screen by Nelson Gidding and starring Julie Harris and Claire Bloom, Richard Johnson, and Russ Tamblyn. Now, this is a very interesting film, and it came at a point between Robert Wise's career right after West Side Story, huge, massive audience and Academy Award success, and right before a huge epic, he did The Sand Pebbles with Steve McQueen and his Oscar-nominated performance, and then, of course, The Sound of Music, which was the highest-grossing motion picture of all time for many, many years, and a film that really changed and ended the old school Hollywood system. We'll talk about that at some other point. But I think Robert Wise is a master of all genres and very underrated in that aspect. He could do science fiction, as in The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Join us and live in peace, or pursue your present course and face obliteration.
He could do musicals, as in West Side Story.
Life is alright in America if you're all white in America.
And Sound of Music.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
And he could do high drama like The Sand Pebbles, and technical science fiction like The Andromeda Strain. And he's the one that's responsible for Star Trek coming back into prominence, because he did do a very good job on Star Trek the Motion Picture, which I think is quite underrated. And we'll definitely do a retro review of that at some point. But he seemed to excel at whatever genre he was working in, and The Haunting is no exception. It's shot in glorious black and white Panavsion, and without giving too much away, it's about a disparate group of people who have to go to a alleged haunted house to prove if it's haunted or not. And it's a very female-centric film, which is what I like about it too. And Julie Harris is an amazing actress, and you get to see the film from her point of view. And there's also a very interesting LGBTQ character at a time in 1963 when those characters were either presented with comedy or distaste. And I think Robert Wise's portrayal and Claire Bloom's acting is very progressive for the era, and the film is very empathetic towards the characters. And Russ Tamblyn plays kind of the sleazy playboy, and he's, kind of dopey, but he gets the really great, chilling final line. And the film's got just a beautiful look to it, and I love Robert Wise's technique of creating suspense and tension and fear, but not really showing anything, except through some very fascinating camera work. And you can see that Sam Raimi certainly used this as an influence in The Evil Dead, particularly in the portrayal of the camera looking around at the haunted house. There are definitely flashbacks to The Haunting here. And I think the film is very scary to this day, and it's got a wonderful atmosphere, and like I said, I think a really good cast. It's somewhat over-exaggerated in certain points melodramatically, in a way that, 60s films would be, and 50s films, and it's a different kind of standard of performance in some cases, and dramatization, but it does all work together as a piece, and I think it's still magnificent in terms of what it's trying to do. And it has something to say about kind of state of mind, and there's a psychological profile going on that I find fascinating, and that was Shirley Jackson's kind of power in this story. And once again, beautifully directed by Robert Wise, and has a great score and just a wonderful vibe. And if you watch it late at night, I guarantee you that you're going to look over your shoulder a few times and wonder, what was that? And so there's my retro view of Robert Wise's 1963 The Haunting. I highly advise you to pick this up. It's a beautiful Blu-ray, and I imagine they'll come out with a 4K at some point. But this looks pretty fantastic, and it's available streaming, of course, also if you don't want the Blu-ray. And it's a perfect Halloween viewing experience, and wonderful to put on in the background on a Saturday afternoon. And of course makes a fantastic double feature with The Innocents, which we might talk about at some other point during this wonderful month of Shocktober. So thank you for retro viewing, and anyway, so once again, thank you for retro viewing. Please like and subscribe if you don't want the specter of ghosts haunting you all month long. And we'll see you at the next retro view.